Carol and I especially were out there selling. So we're hearing what customers are saying. And I also learned from them. Like, actually, that's like things no one tells you. If you listen enough, they did tell you. Right.
Yes.
You know?
Hey guys, welcome to the Things No One Tells You podcast. Ooh, we got a fun episode. This is a couple. I love talking to couples because inevitably I find myself thinking like, ooh, we should do that. Or like in terms of like the communication and the way that different people sort of live out their lives and communicate with spouses and, you know, make things happy. Anyway, all right. This episode is a couple that should have a reality show. It is my friend Christine Moore, who is the featured Milliner of the Triple Crown, meaning the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont, and her husband, Blake Seidel. All right. Christine, when I say official and featured Milliner, she's a hat maker. She started her career though in the theater. So this is such an interesting story. That's where she and Blake met. But these two now work together 24/7 because she has Christine Moore Hats. It's this amazing business. And she basically is the who's hat maker behind all of these events around horse racing. And she's definitely expanded into other events as well. So when I first started covering horse racing, this sport is so special to me. There's a lot of nostalgia in it for me because my father covered horse racing for a really long time for USA Today. And so when I was asked to first get involved, really in a specific way, it was after my time at ESPN. It was working with America's Best Racing, which is a digital platform of the Jockey Club, which is the overseeing body of horse racing. They asked me to cover a story, tell a story on this amazing horse Flightline, which was going to do things nobody had seen since Secretariat at the Breeders' Cup in Kentucky that year, because it always moves around. So I was like, this is amazing. I can't believe I have this opportunity. And I went to the Breeders' Cup. I knew what my role was. They were going to follow me around and I was just going to experience the whole thing and kind of tell the story through my own personal experience, which is like a dream if you're a journalist, because you don't get that kind of access. And to be able to do that, it's really this awesome sweet spot of like journalism and, you know, influencer type work. So I go there to the Breeders' Cup and the group I'm working with, they're like, okay, so you're going to go get a hat. We need you to have a hat. You've got to look like you belong. And so they send me, they're like, we're going to go send you to Christine. I don't know Christine at this point. And I had my daughter with me. My mom was there too, I think, because we made this like a family affair. And we go and we walk into this tent that is obviously a hat tent because there are hats outside. And I remember when we walk inside, it's like, oh my God, it was this like explosion of like, if Skittles were different hats, like just this rainbow. It was incredible. And what I remember most is that like Christine is this boss lady and she is just like, oh, hi. She talks really fast. She was, and I introduced myself. I'm like, hey, I'm here trying to, you know, I need a hat, da, da, da. And they kind of put their people to work and they figured out like, okay, this is my dress here. What do you need to be wearing? She shoves this fascinator into my head, like really firmly, but it looked awesome. I loved it. We got my daughter outfitted with one that sort of matched her husband, Blake. The whole time I remember was just kind of like tooling around, doing business. And they were this well-oiled machine, but they had so much personality. And what I have loved and what I've come to know about Christine and Blake is that like every single horse racing event, they are just on it. They are so prepared. And this is like the months leading up to it, but they're also just awesome people. And at the end of the day, their business is about making people feel their best. And when it comes to their experience in the art world, it is really cool because in this conversation, Blake shared a thing no one tells you that I did not expect that had to do with leadership as it comes to the arts and business. So I love this conversation. I hope you learn a lot from it. And here they are, Blake and Christine. Blake and Christine, I am so grateful that you're joining me because I know how busy you are because I've seen it in person. You guys like work nonstop, both of you together, but I'm so pumped to have this conversation for our viewers and our listeners. So I would describe your studio in the city as when you walk in, to me, it feels like Alice in Wonderland. Like it is this magic just blast of color and whimsy and all the things that like speak to me. I honestly get chills thinking about it now. So is that where you are? Why are you taking your hat off?
Yeah, we are. She's going to change up like she always does. But yeah, we're
I
right.
thought this is like a little Alice in Wonderland whimsy.
I love it. Where are you sitting?
We're in the office space. There's a when you walk in, it's a showroom, office space, and a production space is behind us. So
Yeah.
we're sitting here and with stuff that all kinds of stuff around us. It's crazy.
So Christine's just going to keep doing the hat dance as we talk. That's what they do in motorsports when you win races. They put on the hats of their sponsors. All right. So
Yeah.
tell me about where it is that, that you guys are, a little bit about the studio, about what your current situation is. And I should mention, if you hear the doorbell in the background for anybody watching or listening, it's because people are coming to their studio, but they have friends there that are helping. So we're okay.
Yeah. Yes. So we do the production in the next room. So there's a bunch of artists making hats behind me. And then but they don't answer the door. They don't answer the phone.
They're not allowed.
They're busy working.
Yeah. They're so focused. Yeah.
Okay. And so for people that don't know, so Christine, you are the official Milliner of the Kentucky Derby. Am I saying that correctly? Tell me.
Actually, it's featured, and I'm the first. I picked the name featured, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm official for Breeders' Cup and Iroquois and other things, America's Best Racing, but I picked featured because I was coming into it was 146 years of the Kentucky Derby, and it was 2018, and I knew that there was all these milliners or hat design or hat people who made hats before me that made this market that I could come into and thrive in. So I felt like official in this case was just a little selfish, and if I might say that, and self-focused. And that's why I thought featured is a better term, because they're featuring me. Churchill had asked me in 2008 to be involved in the Derby, and as far as like brand building and solidifying the brand, bringing it to another level with my workmanship and design. So I had already been working with them for 10 years. So I felt like I'm the featured. So that made sense to me, rather than say, I'm the official and all of you people who are in Kentucky and, built all this are just nothing, but I'm official. I felt like it was, what do you say?
Yeah,
You're sort
and this is the 9th year as the featured milliner. And last year she signed a
Wow.
3-year contract. So next year will be the 10th, which will be a huge anniversary. Nobody's ever done that. She was the very first one. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I felt like
It's
it was
pretty
the
good.
gracious thing to do. I guess that's what I'm looking for. Like
You're
gracious.
you're honoring those that
Yes.
came
Yeah.
before you and are still there, but have set the table for what you're
Yes.
trying to do. I think that's really awesome. And just, to put it out there, like you work with one of my friends, Dylan Dreyer. There is so many Hollywood, famous
Yeah.
actresses that you have also made the hats for. I want people to know that, like, the hat thing, of course, you might have a sense of this, but it's really real. And it's not just the Derby, but in terms of horse racing, the Triple Crown events, but also other events, whether you're at Saratoga or at different races during the course of the season. The hats are always like, what is your outfit? What it's based around, and it is see or be seen, but there's also just, I don't know, what does that mean to you? What do you guys, both you, Christine, and Blake, what does a hat really mean?
It would be something generally, and in this case, because that's like, there's military hats, there's all kinds of it, but a hat for the Derby, I think it just is like brings people joy. It's like it makes them smile, and it's like the lightness of life in it, like it's in just and it edifies people. It's around their face. I always say it's not torso book, it's Facebook. So it's like highlighting your face too.
Yeah, you always say that. You always say it's the focus of your face. It's the
Yeah.
topper. The topper, obviously, for the presence of that person.
Yeah, and it brings people into your world. Like hats highlight first the eyes, and then the eyes, and then people focus in on your eyes, and then it's bringing people into your world, and
And
so
it's an
it's an
atti-
entrance.
it's an attitude changer too. You give an actor a hat, and oh my gosh, it changes their character right away. They're playing with it.
Yeah,
They're doing all kinds of stuff. Same
yeah,
with
I say that
anybody
a
for
lot.
the Derby or whatever.
Mhm.
It automatically changes your appearance and your attitude. I think, right?
Yeah, I often say, like, to people when I'm designing a hat, it's like, what do you want to tell your audience? You know?
Oh, wow. Really? So giving me,
Yeah.
and it was an example of something that someone has said and how you guys built that.
It's like fashion forensics. So it's finding out what my
Fashion
parameters are.
forensics.
And what
Yeah.
Yeah.
that person's like.
So it's like like asking them questions, getting to know them, and sometimes I have to start knowing that if people don't give me a lot. So the dress, that's why when you say, should I get the dress first, or should I get the hat first? The dress tells me a lot about what they're I came from the costume design world, so it tells me a lot about their personality, um their preferences, and in what they want to what they want to tell their audience. So that helps me a lot. No, but say they don't give me a dress and I have to kind of figure out who they are. And so it's like I give them, I start showing them things, like knowing that they're going to be bloopers, and, they'll, it's interesting with fashion too. People will say, I would never wear that. And it's like so dramatic. And it's like, and you could get offended by, like, I thought, but the thing is that they're giving me parameters. They're telling me who they are from all that. So it's
Wait a
really,
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that's what fashion forensics is? I've never heard that phrase. I think that's fascinating.
yeah, that's what it is. It is. It's like, sometimes I go onto people's Facebooks or Instagram to figure out if they're not giving me enough information, because it starts to tell me, like, things around them, and the way they dress normally, or and it's amazing, because it's like I could be talking to someone on the phone, or they could just send me a picture of dress, and I have, okay, so maybe it's like, especially with Northeasterners going to a Southern race, and it's very played down. And then I see them, like, I go to stalk them on Facebook or Instagram, and all of a sudden I see this, like, they're very, say they love long eyelashes or something like that, and I'm like, okay, then they're seeing this rate, they're seeing the Kentucky Derby from their Northeastern eyes, which is like, we don't dress in colors and frilly and flouncy, like, no, there's no Southern belle to us, but this woman definitely will do it. Like, if I just say, okay, give them a little encouragement, and then, like, okay, I see something about you that is very, like, very out, like, you don't mind being outrageous, and then it's like you just do a little push, and they're like, and I never want anybody to be the plain girl either at Derby, because when you get there, that's something that you have to see it to believe it. Like, no one
That's true.
really could tell you,
Pretty
you know,
fake.
So,
no
and
one really tells you together.
what is the importance of a hat at the Derby?
Well,
It's
I mean, it's the whole
everything.
thing. Yeah,
It
there's
is.
horses there apparently, but
A hundred
it's really about the hats.
152 years of
Yeah,
tradition.
yeah.
Fashion tradition.
Yeah.
So
Now this
So,
doesn't
you know
look
what's
very good
funny?
on me, but
You look beautiful. I love that. Okay, so I wanted to show, I want to hear more about your all's backstory, because I love it. And I really want to talk about just your theater background and how that translates. I think there's so much there. But first, before we unpack that, I want to unpack my first hat I bought from you. I have
okay.
like 6 or 7. Anyway, I do want to say, for anyone that hasn't like had a hat for a horse race, it's such a cool feeling when you're traveling through the airport and you've got the hat box, especially if it's one of like Christine's. So I remember, and I shared this leading into our episode, but when I first met you guys, it was at the Breeders' Cup, and I was there covering a story for America's Best Racing, talking about this legendary horse, Flightline, and I needed to look the part. So America's Best Racing was like, you need to go meet Christine. She's going to help you out with the hat. I knew nothing, but this is what I came
And
away with.
Sybil
Do you
was
remember
there.
this?
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember we were in your tent outside of the, Keeneland, which is where that Breeders' Cup
Clubhouse.
was. And your tent was like, it was so amazing with all these amazing hats. But Blake, you cracked me up too, because I'm like, who's Blake? And Blake was just kind of manning the whole thing. I remember I had my mom and my daughter there. But this was like, I know I'm going to put it on wrong and you're not here to guide me, but I absolutely I was wearing
It's
a dress. I had,
backwards.
oh, sorry. See, this is why,
The
but
comb goes in the back and then flip it
is
down.
that
Yeah.
anyway, some version of this. But I just, it is
You had
amazing.
it on right. I'm sorry. It was
I did. Okay. Do you want me to keep this on? So anyway,
pull it down.
I don't know if you guys remember that moment, but it was just so great to meet you.
No, that's the other
And
way. Turn it around.
what?
You
Oh,
have it on
this
backwards
way?
now. I was wrong.
Oh, now. Okay. All right. The comb confuses me.
Going forward.
But
Yeah,
it
get
really,
that.
it was one of those things that it's like, it totally elevates and makes you just feel polished. And I love learning from you about how much craftsmanship goes into it. So let's start in the beginning. How'd you guys meet?
So we both met in
We have
Philadelphia.
to look at each other.
We both met in Philadelphia at the Walnut Street Theater, and I was working this was in the 80s, and I was just out of college, and she was taking classes still, and she was working in the costume shop, and I was working in management. There was a party. We got together at the theater, and we just really hit it off as two young artists in Philadelphia, loving that city and not knowing what's coming next. And I went to New York to go to graduate school. She went all around the country doing regional theater at every regional theater you can think of, from Alabama to Buffalo, a studio arena. And we did a long distance relationship for a long time. And she came to New York 5 years later and started working for Rodney Gordon. And I was in grad school, and we continued to date. And then when I finished grad school, we got married. And then both stayed in New York that whole time. So we've been in New York City now since 86, I think, or 87.
No, you.
Well, 87.
I moved in 90, the January of 90. Yeah. So nice, clean, the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But
I just can't believe
Rodney, just to say, Rodney is one of the top milliners for theater, for millinery. Well, yeah, milliners for theater. Anyways, we did top hats
Hat making for theater. Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I learned how to make the ascot top hat. So that's so I made for all
she's gonna grab one. But at that time, he was making all the top hats for every tour of Phantom of the Opera. And
the
I think there was
Broadway
like
show.
7 tours or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, that's so pretty. That's like a suede. It's like, it looks like a cowhide.
Yeah, it's well, no, it's Panay velvet. So
Or that.
Yeah, or that. Yeah. So what is it? I think it was King Edward was the one who changed it from beaver, that you could wear beaver. I think it's crooked, but sorry.
So
my men's collection is called the Blake collection.
So wait, were you drawn to hat making? Was that specifically what you wanted? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I when I was at the Walnut Street Theater, I was assistant designer assistant designer for the season, and I met a milliner, and I fell in love with I just couldn't get my eyes off of what she was doing, so I asked her for a job, and she hired me, and then we she worked mostly for the McCarter at Princeton, and then she introduced me to Rodney, and so I did some regional theater, and then like he had said, while he was in graduate school, and then Rodney hired me. Actually, Blake gave me an ultimatum. He said, either you move to the city or we're breaking up.
I didn't say that.
Pretty much.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I don't remember that
Yeah,
part
he
actually.
said
You laid it
I
down?
didn't. He didn't want to have a long distance relationship
Well,
anymore.
we did that for 5 years, and that we weren't like on our phones. We were like writing letters, to each other,
So
Oh,
and
he had
right.
talking
email.
on
Listen,
on a
before that's how
landline
you're gonna
occasionally.
find out how old we are.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It was difficult.
Wait.
Well, 1990, I moved to the city, so there you go.
Yeah, that was a much harder time for that. Wait, so Blake, wait, Christine, how would you describe Blake as an artist?
I think he's actually more of an artist than I am, because I'm actually a
Whoa.
numbers person. Yeah, so you have to
What?
use to sew. You have yeah.
Wait.
If I didn't do this, I'd be an accountant. Yeah, isn't that crazy? But you have to use math to make hats anyway, like geometry and math and all that. But then also I do so I did my own accounting for years, and then now I have a bookkeeper and an accountant. But the thing is, they both know that I can do it, so they push back on me a lot. Like I can't just like sign. I'm like, oh, I trust you guys. I'll just sign. They're like, no, you can. Most of my clients don't know what what they're looking at, but they're like, with you, we know you know, so you have to look over this and know what you're saying. And I was like, well, I hired you to do less stuff, But anyway,
Yeah.
and then but he's the word guy. He does the marketing plan with Carol. I mean, Carol also,
Carol is a
but
legend. Carol is
yeah, Carol is
she's the manager, would you call her? She's just this happy, wonderful
Yeah.
energy
director.
that is at all the races. I adore her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she really runs the company. We're just we're just
You're
the
just living in it.
figureheads. But
Okay,
yeah,
wait. So
but he really is more of an. I mean,
I have to
I,
disagree with that
I,
actually. I think my whole career was managing artists and productions. So when you do that, it just takes a sensibility to be able to do that. Because especially in theater, when you have 7 different artists, you'd have a costume designer, a sound designer,
that's why I don't like
all the
theater.
way down the line,
It's
musical
lack of
director.
art.
So all these artists, you have to really kind of keep on track from point A to point B to get this production up. So you have to be able to deal with a wide range of people, and
Well,
it takes a lot. I mean, to be able to do that. I mean, to
well, you
continue to do
said
that.
that's a beautiful look, Christine. I love that. You said that the criticism in the arts is like one of the things no one tells you is what would you say is how
How to give it
challenging that can be? Is that
and
right?
how to give it. I mean, how to give criticism to somebody. I mean, Christine's had I don't know how many employees over the 30 years. I mean, hundreds, hundreds, and they're all young artists that
I
come.
don't know, hundreds.
Well, that come to New York, and they're all usually young. And my point, though, is that anytime that you're giving criticism to someone, especially with a sensibility with the arts, you have to just sort of remember that what you're saying to them cuts really deep because it's a passion. They're doing something that
Oh yeah.
they're not just like
That
doing something that doesn't count. No, not that they're not, but you just have to know how to give it to them and talk to them and make sure that what you're always lifting them up and making sure that it's understandable.
they're
Well, I think
also very empathetic people, right? Probably mostly, I would think like if you're an artist, you're a deep feeler oftentimes, right?
Yeah, and it all comes from the theater.
that's what I'm saying. He's
How you
more
tell
of
an
an
act
artist than I am.
how you tell an actor that they need to like do it this way,
Well,
whatever.
one of the things I realized just in criticism um, is that I realized that it's easy to, when you're criticizing someone, to make them coil and recoil back. And then you've actually caused that. That's why I think mean bosses are actually like shooting themselves in the foot, because if you are harsh in your criticism and not helpful, um and have communicate and have a dialogue, you naturally go like this, and you recoil, and then I can't get I've never been like that, but then you can't, I mean, that's happened to me. And then all of a sudden it's happened with my retailers. Sometimes, now I have my sea legs for sure. And the stores that I sell to, know me, or they, it's because it's word of mouth, like you should carry this collection, sort of thing. Yeah, but when I first started, these stores would call and they'd like yell at you, for the most ridiculous thing, whatever they would just beat up young designers, and I realized every time they would do
Like
that,
what kind of thing would they be? Just so
oh, that
for
would just be
context.
like they would do. Let's see, they would say it could be a quality thing where, and I always thought I anything that's a criticism, I'm going to get better. Right. My whole thing is like, you tell me I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. But it would be like things like, you'll never succeed. Like they would always bring up another designer that was bigger or more well known than me. They'd be like, well, so and so, they're, and sometimes I wonder if this comes from the other designers. You know what I mean? Like, they don't buy Christine's work because, da 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 da. And they'll be like, well, I heard, or what they would or, if you're 2 seconds late in your delivery, like I might call and they're like, well, we're going to cancel it if you don't have it here by this certain time. And it's just like, you just kind of, and those things, I mean, I've always been timely, but it was just like, I'm going to cancel, because they love to cancel orders.
Really?
Yeah, like not, I don't know,
That-
not now, but they did. Now people would never do that, because then Carol would be like, you're not getting it done ever. What I mean?
but
I
that's when when you made the switch from theater to fashion, though, because you were dealing with a different sensibility of people in the theater world, and then all of a sudden you're in
Yeah.
this
Oh,
fashion
yeah.
world dealing with all these different stores, and that's when
Yeah, we talked about this
because that
before.
doesn't happen
Lindsay
to
and I
you
talked
anymore.
about it.
A good relationship. She's cut away all these stores that have not been a good partner, over the years. So now she has really great partners
Yeah.
in stores, which
Yeah.
is
Well,
hugely
like I was
important.
looking at the top of my box, which is right here, and I realized this is actually your box, but it's Rhodes was where I got this because you were partnered
Yeah,
there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
now,
an amazing store in Kentucky.
And that box
Um,
has changed now too. She'll show you what the new one looks like too. So
so and Blake, I mean, I actually think that's so fascinating and actually I want to hear what your method is for delivering criticism and how you've done that successfully, because I think that's something people can take away. What is this? That's the top of your hat box?
yep, yes, that's our hot box. Some of the times the stores have their own boxes, but then if they don't, we use these boxes. Yeah. And if you,
I love it.
yeah.
and if you
So-
buy directly from Christine in New York, you definitely get one of these. Which a lot
And
of
I
women
highly
collect. They
encourage
collect
that.
these. Yeah, they collect these actually over the years, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. But
I remember being like SOS, like, help, I need a hat for I think it was the Derby. And I landed on this beautiful blue brimmed hat. But I was like, I need it. And it's in like a week. And I know that this is what's crazy is like you're heading into the month of May, which is when the Triple Crown begins. The first Saturday in May is always the Derby. And then you've got the Preakness and the Belmont, and that leads into Saratoga. And it's so you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Blake was just sharing though about, I don't want to move on before I hear this. Like what is your method for delivering criticism in a meaningful,
Hers
effective
or
way
mine.
that you've learned? You.
From me. Well, I
Yeah.
think
Like the way you talked about in the theater, because I think that can apply to anybody and it's really valuable
yeah.
information.
So I studied management in the arts, specifically theater, and you learn very quickly that there's all kinds of different bosses, and some are very short and curt, and some really want to get to know you, some want to talk. But I think part of it is getting to know the person and making sure that they understand that they're a valued person in the company, a valued customer, or whatever they're doing, whatever their position is, and that they're there because you saw something in them, and all you really want to do is make sure that they're going to succeed with you and grow with you and not feel in any way not part of the team, because that's hugely important. So when you talk to them about something that you have to like change or correct or whatever, you have to keep all of that in mind when you're talking, so that they continue to feel that way and then want to continue to be that kind of person and the best person that they could be.
yeah.
And with your employees, I mean, she gets in New York City, she gets so many people applying for these jobs,
Oh,
and she really is good about whittling it down to who she wants to work with and takes all of this stuff into
Well,
consideration and looks at the resume really, and then has them come in and interview them, but that also helps them work. So like they'll sit down and sew.
So
Yeah,
as
they'll
long as they
sit
can
down and
sew, I
use
can
a
teach
machine
them
and hand sew to see that they have those chops and understand the fabrics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think I mean, to be honest, I've had a few duds, but generally over the years, because we have a staff and then we have
That's a
overhire.
great way to say it. A few
But
duds.
but
Haven't we all?
but I
Not
always
many though.
yeah,
And you're very respected by them too.
and I yeah, and other than the overhire, I mean, that's actually how I sometimes build my staff, and they stay
And they're all
longer.
hearing this right back
And
in.
then
So.
there's like people if it's transient in New York for artists, so it's like they're here for to do what's in their heart to do. So that's why the turnover is faster, but still like people stay with me for like 3 to 6 years, and then usually when it comes to like when you get up to six, people tend to want to go on their what art they came to the city to do in the first place, if that makes sense. Like if it's film design or they came here
Yeah.
for they want to go back to the theater. That's usually why they don't stay with me. But
They all have those sewing skills.
yeah, they all
And it's rare that somebody comes in with a millinery background. She has one person now that came to the job that has a millinery background. Usually, Chris, you always say that as long as they can sew
I
and
can teach
understand
them
the
how to
fabric.
make hats.
Exactly.
Yeah, but as far as like
Wow.
like the criticism question, the one thing I'm very direct. I'm kind, but I'm very direct. It's just like
And that builds
it's a fish.
respect
It's
too.
New York real estate, so it's a fishbowl in here, So it's like
Yeah.
really you can do I don't really usually do reviews because everything's out there in the open. Like everything's like I'll just say, hey, can you?
I love that.
But I also find that because I do, and this is what I'm saying, like you have a few duds, but everybody I hire is very intelligent. They have, a lot of them have masters in costume design. They all have BAs, but the thing is, or BFAs. But the thing is, so I often will just say, well, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? Like I want to hear from them what they were thinking because they're probably thought something out, and the reason they're going in the wrong direction is because they see something. They're all in all honesty trying to figure it out. And so but having asked that question, and usually then we get to what the root of the thinking that's making them go and make a mistake. But then also I found that I've learned by asking like why did you do that, or what are you thinking, also it gives me ideas. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, that actually, so where you're going with that actually gives me an idea to create something else or fix something, or just even like, oh, you know what, maybe we don't need that extra step, like it's redundant, and so I think that that's the thing is,
And that's
um,
collaboration with them. I mean, that's working on the project.
yeah, so that's why I think it's like the communication in the criticism is really important because everybody can learn and grow, And then I like to tell the difference, but I like to tell when I'm here, and I travel a lot, but when I'm here, I like to tell them because everything here is pretty much thought out. I mean, there's nothing that's just like, oh, by the seat of my pants I'm doing. Like I think everything
Yeah.
out, and my like my core staff, it does the same, like everything. Carol, it's like there's no arbitrary. That's why when something goes kaflooey, it's like, well, it wasn't because we didn't think about it, and analyze it. But so I like to tell my staff why I did, well, this is the basis of this design, this is why we do this, because I'll stay, like say like the comb has to be in the back so it grabs your hair, so when you put your head down it stays still, right? Get that comb in there, Lindsay.
I know you always, no
So-
one puts a comb in your head like Christine. Feels so
right,
good.
you'll remember
You're like,
it.
ugh.
Yeah, and but that's the thing, like all these things, like why now we're dividing these headbands a little bit farther out from each other,
Oh yeah.
so that they actually can really cup your head more and stay still. So it's like
They're
things
all
like that, so I like to say, because Carol and I especially were out there selling selling. So we're hearing what customers are saying, and I also learn from them. Like, actually, that's like things no one tells you. If you listen enough, they did tell you, right?
Yes. Wait, tell me more. Yeah. You're like, oh, wait, maybe they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's like they'll, I, I have, there's a reason that the customer told me, like, one of the things is like, surprisingly, people will say with really thick hair, they'll say, my hat's moving. My hat moves. And so it's like, that's why, like, I've learned to like make the hat for bigger heads just a smidge bigger, so it doesn't, if it fits too tightly, their hair will shift it up.
It's
And
like
those,
Melvin, even in the men's hat, like we had to make him a very big hat.
yeah,
He has a
yeah,
beautiful
exactly.
head, but it's,
Yeah.
he's got a
But it's like,
noggin.
yeah, yeah. And also I realized that men have square heads. Women's heads tend to slope in like this, and a lot of men's are like that.
We
Isn't that
we
interesting?
pride ourselves in our
So
noggins.
when men say
You
their
do.
head is big, I realized it's not that their head's big, it's that it's square. So the measurement at here, like the measurement here and the measurement here are the same. So they're feeling the hat hitting them right here, and it's too small. But it's
Oh,
actually
right,
not.
right, right, right.
It's actually not too small. It's just that they have a square head.
She
Anyway,
once
By the
once
I
way,
digressed into
she
something else.
once designed and made a hat right on my head. It was a piece that was like a skull cap kind of deal. She's like sewing it around
really?
my way.
Oh God, that's dangerous.
It's like a,
But but you can see there's a hat right behind you that is like one of my favorite. I assume that's called
Yeah.
a fedora, but I love that. And
oh yeah, that's a Melvin hat. That's like
I ordered
a
those for Melvin
Preakness.
and his friends when I
Yeah.
surprised him with a trip to the Preakness, because that was my foray to pull my husband into horse racing more, because I
It
do
was fun.
love it.
That was
And he
fun.
loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys nailed it. And
And all the guys
I
looked
just,
great. I mean, they looked so
they
great.
look great. And that's the thing. Like, I do think we're talking about, yes, it is a fun thing to do for horse racing. It is a part of the fashion at the Derby, but it also is like a polished, put together look. And I think it's really cool that you guys, I knew this, but it's like that theater attention to performance detail. It is really interesting to hear your story. And it's really cool. I knew you were great at math, but I didn't realize like that, how of that much of your brain is like that type of brain, Christine. And so you guys are such a great partnership in it. Like, so
I
when you
don't write.
decided, you
I
what?
can't write. The two of
Really?
them
See,
have to write for me. Oh yeah,
that's,
Well,
that's
you
so
right.
I
funny. I
write
would have
like I
not.
speak.
We take her stuff and
Yeah. But
then we fix it up.
so when you decided that you really wanted to take on this endeavor of opening your own business, what was that like? Was it like a
Oh,
no-brainer? Were you
Well,
nervous?
I was not in the business then, but she started it in '94 is when you really moved
well, in
into
'91
this
I
business.
sold my first hat,
Yeah.
but and did my first Schedule C, but but then it was say accounting, and then in '94 is when I went full time. Yeah, and you know what, and the thing is that it was like uh, it was like a burning desire to own my own business. I can't even
And
explain it.
you got
But
tired of dealing with actors.
oh, that's the collaborative art part. Yeah, so I don't like collaborative art.
Though she was in theater
Wait,
for a
what?
long time.
No, I had one, and yeah, I've had okay. So when you're in
It
theater,
sounds like
it's
there's a
like
story here. So why
there's
don't we're all
five. Yeah,
friends? Just
there's
A lot of
five.
stories.
There's five artists at least that go into making a product, and if one of those, and costumes always takes the hit, because also the actor, if the actor doesn't like what they're wearing, or they don't, we always say if the actor is a bad actor, they don't like what they're wearing, they pick on the clothes, and then
True.
and
They blame the clothes
they
to
blame
them.
the clothes for the bad acting, or so I just was tired of like creating things, and then the director and the actor saying that they're cutting that piece, or they're cutting, and I'd be staying up all night, doing these hats, and I mean, yes, I was being paid to do them, but still, like, I would stay up all night, and then it would be it'd be cut from the show, or I even had one actor hated their hat and it was having a problem with the fight with the director, sat on it. Sat on my work. Like I thought,
Intentionally?
yeah, but now, yes.
And they don't have
So
to
because
use it.
they
You mean-
didn't have to use it because they sat on it. And I just was like, that's my artwork. I mean, you just like sat on my artwork. So go into fashion. I knew nothing about fashion. And so I got into fashion, got completely beat up in a different way.
Can I just tell her how you started doing that though? Nobody knows this. This is something nobody probably knows. So when she decided she's going to create a collection, a small collection, and get it in front of people's eyes at stores, we bought these big old drum cases, and she put fabric all over them, and she designed this collection, and she packed them in these and started like making appointments at stores in New York and Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And the first store in New York to actually buy from you was Henry Bendel. And that was a huge, beautiful
That's the
store.
first store.
That was the one in New York, though.
And here, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the
yeah.
first store in Philadelphia with Joan Shep. And she's still in business till this day. But I remember when you got both of those orders for both those stores and got to do a trunk show here in New York, that was a huge thing. That was big.
And
That store was
so tell me, so what'd you
like a
do?
Fifth Avenue store.
So
you know?
the thing
Wow.
about
So you put the fabric, like, tell me about that. What did you do? And then what was your pitch? How'd you do it?
I just
Covered the drum cases to make them
and
look
would
cool.
just go, and later on people have said, I remember you. I remember you. You were the one with
You're the drum box
cases.
lady.
Yeah. So I would just go and I would just make an appointment with a store and then come in and just show them the work. And then they would usually buy the pieces right there. Some people would buy, and then I did trade shows at the Javits, and then I didn't have to travel with the drum kit. The drum cases went down the street because we're on 34th Street. Javits is by the river on 34th Street. So I would just, but I think that's the thing to flip it around though, about the collaborative art part. That the one thing I found out about fashion is that it's a nasty business for sure, and nobody really wants you to succeed because everybody's competition. Everyone's competition. So what I realized was that I was going into that. I was a softie in fashion. Like I wanted to help everybody and give everybody, like, because in the theater, everybody helps each other, but in fashion, they don't, so I was
Why
like
do you think it's so different? And Blake, do you agree?
Well,
I think it's the money difference.
Theater's the most collaborative art because everybody has to pitch together to bring one product out and up, from point A to point B. And in fashion, it's not like that at all.
Everybody's out for themselves.
Yeah. The stores are, the
and
designers
it's
are.
expensive.
There's
By
competition.
the nature of what you're doing, because you're trying to sell your thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily right. That's very interesting.
I did some early on. I did some runway shows with other designers, and then and it's hard for new, and it's expensive. They were on Bryant Park, and they'd be like $15,000 or $150,000 to put on a show.
And that was
and then
expensive now.
Then they would do groups, like young designers would be doing groups, but I kept getting their press, so they would do. They're paying to do it, and then they want to talk. Like Women's World Daily wants to talk about the hats, and they, not that they didn't necessarily name me, but they talked about the hats instead of the clothes. It kept happening over and over again. So I got fired from that. Like nobody wanted to.
You outshone the dress collection.
Yeah, and so.
Oh my God.
And listen, it's hard enough to work with other designers, so it was okay to say I'm not doing this anymore. But yeah, no, it's true. Like the hats, and that's the thing. Like hats always bring attention. So even they had nothing. They didn't want to talk about anything. Like people want to talk about the hats.
You do a lot of special pieces though for photo shoots for designers and magazines.
Yeah, now I have designers that I work with though. So that's different.
Yeah. So what does it look like? Like how did you get beyond that? How did you really gain the traction and solidify yourself? Because isn't there that point in a business too where you're trying, like real quick? It's fascinating because Farm Girl Flowers, we did an episode with Christina, the founder, and she talked about how her thing wasn't necessarily that she was obsessed with flowers. And I know you've shared that too. You weren't obsessed with hats, but you were consumed by the desire to have your own thing and to make your own thing and get it out. And that's what she saw, a real need in the space for flowers and delivery. And it's funny when you're describing the drum box, it took me back to our conversation where she was talking about burlap, and she found, the burlap and thought, well, if we wrap it like this and make this one of our signature ways of presenting when it arrives, that's something that can be memorable. That's an interesting
Exactly.
through line.
Yeah. Packaging is hugely important.
Hat box.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get insulted about the hat box. Like they care about why I didn't get a hat box. I didn't get a hat box. And I'm like, but the
Well,
artwork's
because
hot.
you're creating everyone, you're giving them a moment to
Yeah.
literally, when I left that first Breeders' Cup and I owned my first hat and I walked through the airport. I mean, I'm going to post a video that I took because I was like, this is the most amazing thing. There are so many people carrying these hat boxes. And I'm sitting there waiting for my flight and I've got my hat box by my feet, and I was like, this is either ridiculous, but it just feels really cool. It also feels like, right? Like you're part of this club, whatever.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's
it's just,
exactly
you're
the way to
like
look at it.
Audrey Hepburn. What'd you say?
Exactly. That's a good way to look at it. Like walking through an airport, walking down Fifth Avenue with a hat box. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
it's a great look and a great feeling.
the airline and the flight attendants are really um they get dazzled by the hat boxes unless they're this big.
Yeah. Well, they can be a pain in the ass. That's true, because then you've got to the whole
Ship 'em.
overhead storage
Yeah.
situation. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, were there things you learned along the way, Christine, that you think are valuable that is maybe a thing no one tells you?
Well, I think one of the things is, well, there's a lot. Like I said, I think people told me and I just didn't, didn't listen.
Well,
But
what's something you think people told you that you didn't listen to?
I think how long it would take to really be successful. And I think the one thing I wanted to say, like, how did I get how did I get to the next level in fashion was when I met somebody introduced me to horse racing. And then I had the theater and the fashion came together, and I have theatrical fashion. And then I was able to take to define myself from all the other hat designers in the fashion district in New York, that we're all doing the same thing. Like, I mean, I still do it. It's like sporty winter hats and sporty summer hats. And, I mean, yes, I have my flair, but it's like, that's really what I was competing. And I was competing with people who had more money than I did for advertising, like Eric Javits and all these other people who were more established. So that was when, and nobody was really, because if you don't go to the Derby, you don't have any idea. And I just wrote it off as like, nobody wears fancy hats until I got there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my people. And then that's where I could flourish. But I think it's like when they say, like, entrepreneurs, they fail, but they fail in a business and they get back on their feet. And I feel like that's the thing. Like, nobody would tell me, and even though I've always had the same company and the same product, I have to say, like, no one, you think it's going to be smooth sailing as you grow, or it's going to be, when you're young, it's just like, you think you're rubber, you think you think you're gonna jump off the roof and bounce back up again. But I think that's the thing. No one could have told me how long it would take to grow something, like, it's years to grow it. And you think you start in and, like, you just, and then when people say, when they start their business and they say, I just want to pay my bills. And I'm like, it's going to take you a while to pay your bills, if you're doing what you love, and you're doing, because you
Yeah.
think it's all planned out and it's all going to work out. And it will, if you have the passion and you're, I know I'm doing the right thing for my life, like, for what, and edifying other people. But it's like, it just to really, to be really established, it took way longer than, and nobody could have told me that, then you just stick with it. And I think a lot of businesses also, a lot of not entrepreneurs, but people who start business, because I think an entrepreneur is different than a business owner. So business entrepreneur is going to make it work, and they have a motor that's driving the business. That's like the business itself is is what I want to succeed, or not. But a business owner is more like someone who has a great idea and wants to bring it to the market, but not necessarily have this, I have to succeed. It's like, if it doesn't work, I'll just find something else to do. With an entrepreneur, I don't think if it doesn't work, I will find something else to do. I will find another business, but it's like you fight tooth and nail to make it work. Like you sock me you sock me in the jaw, man, it's okay. I learned from that. I'm going to go find another way
So
to build it.
are you an entrepreneur or a business owner?
Oh, I'm an entrepreneur.
You
Yeah.
are. Yes, absolutely.
But it just so
That's
happens,
really,
I feel like it just so happens that this business has worked, but it wasn't easy, and it wasn't fast, and it was way longer. And like I said to you one time, or, that the amount of press, like when I got an inquiry, when I first started in the business from Vanity Fair, wanted to potentially do an art. I don't even know why, but how the connection is now. But they wanted to do. No, I guess a writer had come in contact with me and was like, "Oh, I'm going to pitch this story." And I remember somebody else saying, "Well, if you're in Vanity Fair, you're going to have so many orders that you're going to have to hire people right away." Because I was working by myself at the time. I mean, you don't understand. Are you ready for success? Okay, the article didn't happen, but you know what? And I've been on the Today Show 9 times. This will be, and the Alan, and even since then,
and you're about to be on again at the Derby.
again. But also, there was a gap of time where Alan and Al
Roker,
Roker and
Uncle Al,
Dylan
his
Dreyer
beautiful
just.
wife, Deborah.
Yeah, and Deborah, right. And they would just talk about me, and I didn't need to necessarily be on, but it's like, so there's been this long, for I'd say 16 years or 17 years that
And you've been making hats
that
for them
I've
the whole
been
time.
had some connection to the Today Show, where every Derby they've shouted out and promoted my company. And I still
Awesome.
say, like, it took all those, it takes all those years and all all this press that you see around here. It takes all that, like this is my advice to anybody starting a business: do not say no to the press. Don't ever be afraid to just do it. Just like, because I was very timid. And I remember this one reporter said to me, I had my salesperson do an interview for me at the Javits, and the reporter, when she was done, she said, "Next time you do it, we want to hear from the designer. You need to do this." And I remembered that. And so the next time they came by, I was like, "I'm going to do this." And I'm shaking in my boots, but I'm going to do this interview, and
Now you've done hundreds of TV interviews.
yeah.
I just want to add
What was
one quick thing about the Today Show. A huge, obviously being on the Today Show live from Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby is a huge thing. But when Al Roker introduced you as the Milliner to the Triple Crown, Christine Moore, the Milliner to the Triple Crown,
Yeah.
that was a huge
Yeah.
thing to say. It was great.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, he's
awesome.
And
Yeah,
he
and I
looked
told
good.
you how good
He always
he's
looks
great
great
to me.
in every hat he wears. Big hat
Yeah,
guy.
that's
So
yes, absolutely. And now he's got the glasses, but yes, the hat, and
exactly.
he's the best. Wait,
Yeah.
was there someone that asked you to create a hat for them that meant the most, or that you were like, just, oh my God, this is so cool?
You.
Oh, stop. Thank you.
No. Well, I think,
What about
okay.
last year's
So,
uh,
oh, you know what
Francis
I'd say?
Finger? That was pretty
Oh,
cool.
I think, yeah, I would say Winona Judd was really cool, because she also asked me to make a top hat, so it kind of fit into like what I love
You're
top
the
hats. So that was really because it's so intricate, and to get it to be perfect and all that. So I love that.
She sang the national anthem at the Derby, and her husband played snare drum. It was beautiful.
But
She looked
Oh,
amazing.
that's so
I
cool.
do
She
I
looked
do feel
amazing.
like everybody who okay, so like I love making hats for Dylan. I love to make hats for even like my celebrity list is a lot of my repeat clients. Like they come back and they let me do what I love, and and that's, to me, like that is um that, so I feel like I get a thrill all the time when I like, oh, like Anna Marin called you, she needs a hat for Oaks and Derby. And I'm like, that's, yeah. Cause she lets me do whatever I want to do. And then there's Patty Effington, the quintessential hat lady of the Derby, which has that,
Shit was fun.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
so,
beautiful.
but Carol just had up a sign saying Wisconsin cheese. So I think that was his deal. That probably, well, that was, I don't know if that was thrilling at the time though, when I first heard the
It
call.
was a lot of work.
So you did a partnership with Wisconsin Cheese,
Yeah, this was last year,
right?
the Dairy Farmers of
Yep.
America, Wisconsin
I
cheese,
remember
and
this.
they just basically
Yeah.
wanted an elegant charcuterie piece that they could showcase 6 of their artisanal cheeses, not real
Oh
cheeses.
yeah, here's the
But,
sketches.
it's hard to tell from that though.
The sketches are amazing. Those are your sketches?
Yeah.
That's hard to tell
That's
though.
so
But they sent
incredible.
us all this cheese. They created these amazing pieces. She did 23. They took them to the Derby. Gail Simmons, one of the top chef, wore one on the red carpet, and it created a lot of buzz. And it was a lot of fun. Those corporate projects, which I love to do, are just really fun because you get to collaborate with the company and kind of figure out what they're doing. And
Those
it's
sketches are so beautiful. Yes, and I love it. And I remember seeing you guys there and walking in and just being blown away by all the
Yes.
cheese and the charcuterie designs. I'll throw up a picture here in my social media so people can see it too. It was
yeah, cool.
incredible. Um, what's the hardest thing about your job?
For her.
Working with him.
Mhm.
Working with him.
Which
Working
is
with
a
me.
perfect segue. What do you have to share about what it's like to work with each other day to day?
It's it's actually it's a great experience. I mean, we're with each other 24/7 pretty much, except when she's traveling. So, and one really cool thing, and I always tell people this, is if we have an idea that we come up with or she comes up with that she wants to put out there, we can do it instantly. We don't have to like take it to a team, we don't have to like,
Yeah.
take it to a board, we just like do it right away, which is really a lot of fun. It can be stressful at times,
It-
but I mean, it's she's such a driven person. I always feel she's so hard to work with sometimes, just because she's so driven, and
It's true.
but that's why you're successful,
Hey,
and I'm
yeah.
more laid back, really. I mean, when it comes to that approach,
Yeah, I think one of the things that works really well is that he takes care of our personal life, and I wouldn't have one at all, really. I mean, I'm just so focused that but again, like a lot of entrepreneurs, just really focused um and like I would be really thin if I was not married to him because he feeds me. Otherwise, I would forget to eat. Like I don't have time for that. You know what I mean? Like, let's just keep on going.
Yeah.
And so I think that um I mean, that's nice that but I also, to his point, like he came from the university world, so he's really good with corporate people. Where I'm just like, I got this idea, I just get up on the phone, I'm like and I'm like, and then it's like, and then I give it to him, and he kind of like, he makes like the contact, or he's a negotiator, where I come up with the idea, he negotiate. I mean, he comes up with ideas too, but he sees them through. But he can understand like the the nuances of working with bigger organizations, say like the Wisconsin cheese, or the things like that, or even Churchill Downs, where it's hard for me when they have to ask opinions of 5 different, like when I made the Mattel real hat for the Kentucky Derby Barbie in 2009. I was with Churchill and Mattel, and they wanted me to make 135 of these, and I would just like, okay, so it's like beginning of March, and then it's March 15th, and nobody's signed off on actually what it is, and it was just like, I would watch I was part of it was copied in the email, and I just like, it would be like, what do you think? 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 And it was like April 1st.
So many
What do you
people are
think? What do you
making
think?
decisions.
And I
It's difficult to come up with the final one.
yeah, I wrote to the person at Churchill, and I said, I we're gonna have to make these. can we get off this gerbil, this hamster wheel? But that was the thing, like that was very, nobody was making a decision, the lack of confidence that I sensed, like that was when he started to work with me, that was a really helpful thing because he would be able to, you know, he had more patience with them.
Jump in.
He knew when to jump in. He knew exactly what to say, instead of, like just, he was just, that was really one of the most helpful things. And even when I get mad, and every time he does something, a lot of marketing people do nothing for a long time. You're like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And then all of a sudden they hit a home run or a grand slam. That's just this guy. I mean, I want to fire him and then I have to hire him back because he just hit a grand slam.
I think that's
Well
one
done,
of the
Blake.
things. I think that's one of the things that no one tells you really is when you're going to work with when the arts and the corporate world come together to work together, just how long a project can really take because there's so many eyes from the corporate world on the project that have to sign off. The brand management down to all the way down to like the person that's going to actually receive the product. So I mean, that's one thing that nobody really tells you because every time we've done a corporate one, it's always been a valuable, great experience, but it does take pretty long to have it go through the whole system.
And I think within that, it's like the importance and the things that also to take away that maybe no one tells you initially is like the importance of the communication. I mean, communication's everything anyway, but like just as you discussed earlier, like between colleagues, between people that are working for you, giving tough feedback, also the importance of like not taking stuff personally and just how to navigate getting criticism, getting feedback. And then the other thing I always think about is just the importance of the people. And you guys talked about it in the arts and then certainly in having the employees that you've hired, Christine. And like, I think though it's like, it's not rocket science. It's those things are all the same things that keep coming up in conversations. And I think it's just, be a good person, have good character, ask questions, ask questions if you want. Like, I love, Christine, how you talked about when you got started in your work, like asking if you could come on board and follow the woman who was, creating the hats. And that's so important. So as we wrap, I could talk to you guys all day, but then you wouldn't be able to make more hats. So I would love to hear just, can you in a nutshell sum up what your lives are going to be like for the next couple of weeks heading towards this busy, amazing horse racing season? And just, I want to know what the workload is like, what it looks like for you. And also, is there a trend that you see coming? What'd you say?
I said, Carol. Carol's shaking her head.
I will.
Like Carol. I said, Carol, do you want to say it?
I'll just start you off and just say that so she gets up at like 5 a.m. and she's going through custom orders, sketches for people at this point, and then bringing them in. They're ordering the fabric for them, looking at the pictures for the dresses and the suits, lining all of them up. And she has a great staff that helps do that. Carol does that, and then it's just one after another, and it's about being a great ambassador for racing, especially for Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby, because you'll get phone calls every day or emails, mostly emails every day saying, I'm going to the Derby for the first time. I need help. What do I wear? Can you help me out? And that's exactly what this whole staff does, is like just walk people through that process and like affirm, just to tell them, assure them that they're going to look great, and don't worry about the time frames. It's going to be there in a box at your hotel or shipped or whatever. And it's that customer relationship that just really counts at this point, and being able to like look at every customer, because everything's custom made for all these events. Well, we don't have a huge warehouse where all this stuff's in there. They choose the piece and then they collaborate with the person what they're going to wear. They'll even ask you what belt and shoes to wear, right? I mean,
and we have a collection that we put up on. Like, I design a collection, and then we do one of a kinds from that collection, and then we do special orders. So everything's built basically at this time. Like, we have nothing. I mean, we have stuff in the showroom, but it's like, it gets to the point where it's like older pieces that people can order off of it, but we have to make everything at this point. So it's just, it's by the seat. It's like so fast. But like we're just like riding by the seat of our, what do you say? What's that phrase?
Yeah, but
But
it's controlled. It's not
yeah, but I
chaos.
mean it's not chaos, but it's like it's just trying to get to everybody and do the best job we can. And my staff, like, they really support and like kick it into gear. This is, when the game is on for sure now. And you just want to see everybody come to Churchill Downs and have a huge smile. And you made them feel like $1 million, because you may never, I always say, you may never end up at Derby again, so you want to do it right the first time. And yeah, so, and that's the thing right now. This is another thing that no one ever tells me. You cannot change the Louisville woman um, um, pattern of shopping for Derby. So we've tried. So everybody from outside who's coming into church, into Derby, into Louisville for the Derby, will plan out their outfit. They even, they plan everything. They've been told, you have to get your reservations, you have to be all ready, have
Yeah.
everything delivered. Okay, but the Louisville people, no. It's 2 weeks before Derby starts. It's a Derby festival, and that's Thunder over Louisville, where they have the military planes go overhead, and it's big celebration down by the Ohio River, and that's the kickoff. And then you do the fashion scurry. So you have 2 weeks of fashion scurry, and you just terrorize all the stores, and you terrorize all the milliners, and it's just, and then
In a
it's
fun,
just that,
beautiful
and
way.
you cannot get them to. Generally, you cannot get any of them to think early or to order early. So it's like a really interesting. So it just kind of like snowballs, and because then all the Louisville people, and it's like some of these people I've worked with them for so many years, so I am not going to let them down. So I could sleep in June after Belmont. It's okay, it's all right. But it's like they're allowing me to do what I love, so I'm not going to let them down. But that's the thing. And then there's another thing that happens is that that husbands don't always tell their wives they're going to Derby. It's like,
Really? So what do you
yeah,
mean? You mean
yeah,
it's a surprise?
no, they got tickets and they forgot to tell their wife they're going to the Derby. So then those women, those people are like, what am I going
So like, you mean
to?
they're going with their husbands, or their husbands are like, peace
No,
out,
they're
I'll see
going
you
with
after
their
the week.
husbands. They're yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so there's
So
that. And then
note to anyone in that boat, just
Yeah.
we're
call
telling you where to
Christine.
go.
Yeah, I call Christine. But then and then this was amazing to me. So these tickets some of these tickets, and you could have like $10,000 a seat. Okay, there
It's
really
crazy.
can be, yeah. And so sometimes people don't show up.
Really?
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people I know in Louisville and Lexington end up going to the Derby at the last minute, and they're always ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll, like, their friend that's owns a car dealership, say, and
Oh
has
yeah.
and they'll say, somebody just told me they're not coming, do you want to go to Derby? And
Yeah.
then they'll
Yeah.
and they'll go.
There's big
But
groups that
I
happens.
just
Yeah.
if these people knew how much these tickets are, I bet they would
Oh
never
yeah.
miss it. But it's not like they're telling you, oh, hey, I want you to come to be part of my Derby party, and we're going to Churchill, and the ticket's 10,000, so don't screw up, right?
Okay,
They're not
wait.
telling them that.
Well, the
Right.
thing
It's
I think.
true. Right. But it's so true. It's such an experience. What were you going to say,
Yeah, another
Blake?
thing, that's like the thing nobody tells you, just how amazingly cool and crazy and fun that Derby Day is. It is just really all over the top. That whole day from early in the morning, watching people. People just go there to watch people, and then they watch the races. It's just, it's the largest sporting fashion event in the country, and
And
it's
then
and
I
it's
remember
it's
the
amazing.
craziest is like how fast it's over at that
Yeah,
marquee race,
yeah,
or even, and then it's like, okay, here you go. Fastest
yeah,
2 minutes,
Weekend.
and then
And
exactly.
it's
then
wild.
you're fighting through at the airport because the line is like all the way
Right.
out into it. Yeah, yeah.
It is so fun. It
Is
really is fun.
is there a trend that you see for this year for people that haven't yet decided what they're wearing? What would you give us your expert opinion, if you would?
So, okay, so I would say the hat is leading the charge over fascinators. And I think it's because it's American style. Yeah. I mean, I also, I love fascinators because they're just, I wore one
They're
before.
fun. They're light.
Yeah. Yeah. Before Kate and William got married, and then that's when it became part of American style. But I also a brown, this trend of like brown in fashion is serious. There's a lot of brown with brights, a lot of brown, with
Like
pastels.
Thanksgiving-ish
Yeah,
vibes. Oh, browns.
three right over
Here,
there.
let me show you.
Here, this can just give you an idea. Like, these are pieces that are finished now, waiting to be shipped.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
Like there's
ooh.
these. But I think we shipped all the ones that are like
I like that mint green. Yeah, those are beautiful.
and like this one. But but it's always about color, really.
I
at the
love
end of the day,
that.
but because
I love that.
it's a celebration, so there's always the let me see if there's I don't think there's I think they're all shipped. So we're shipping
All right.
constantly.
Well,
But
this is
I
amazing.
but I want to know, are you gonna go? Because you don't know and when are you gonna tell us what you want to wear?
I will let you know. I promise to give you a little more of, a heads up about my timing, during this Triple Crown season. So yes, our paths will absolutely cross, and I can't wait to see you
I'm
guys.
sure. Yeah.
No, it's always fun to see you there. I love it because you're always in your element, and it's like, my perception is like, it's just always busy, and you guys are always like, it's such great energy. So thank you so much for,
Well,
you
thank
guys
you.
gave like 5 or 6 different things no one tells you. That is amazing. You lead
And
the
I was
charge, but
worried.
no, Christine and Blake, it's always so good to see you guys, but thank you so much. I feel like I learned so much, and I can't wait to see you out and about during the course of the horse racing season, but thanks.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would just love to be with them at a dinner party because those two have such a symbiotic relationship. It is awesome. But yeah, I really, really loved hearing the background for them of the theater and what Blake said about criticism. It's so funny how many episodes we do. And if it's someone who is an entrepreneur, coming out of it, it's like really at the end of the day, it's all about the way that you're relating to your people. And I just, it's such a lesson. And it seems so simple, but it is something that I think maybe people don't talk about enough. So I can't wait to see them down the road at the racetrack because they're always there. And that's also a really cool thing about Christine and Blake is like, if you're going to a big horse race, a meaningful horse race that is like the top of the top, that they're going to be there. And that's just so fun. It's also fun to look at people's hats when you're there and be like, oh yeah, that's got to be Christine's. So I love it. But as always, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please let us know what you're loving. Also, who you'd like to hear from or what themes you're hoping that we'll cover on Things No One Tells You. Thanks so much. Please rate, review, like, subscribe, share an episode with a friend, and we will see you right back here next week. Thanks so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Please don't forget, follow and subscribe to Things No One Tells You. And of course, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a 5-star review because that's really what helps people get more listeners. We would love to grow this community. We are so grateful that you're a part of it. See you next time.